Hello, I'm David. This is Solo. No, not that one. No. And this is Creative Differences. Much review about nothing. Hey, welcome to the very first episode of Creative Differences, much review about nothing. Today we're going to review a feature film from Nic Cornwall called Solo, not the Star Wars one, it's a different one. First of all, if you want to watch this film, it is available, in case I forget to tell you later on, it is available on the Amazon's Prime. Solo with an exclamation mark, because that matters. It is written by, I've got my notes so I don't get this wrong, it's written by Jonathan Hall, directed by Nic Cornwall, DOP Alex Metcalf. The music is by Joe Rose, and the cast is Tristram Summers, okay, some of these are Spanish, Candela Gomez, I believe that is, oh blimey, Jamie Pujol, it's spelled Pujol, Pujol, but it can't be Jamie Pujol, Jamie Pujol, and Ben Freeman. Okie dokie, so what is it all about? I will give you the blurb first of all. This is from IMDb. A romantic comedy musical about a young Englishman who arrives in a remote, run-down Spanish village and has to reform their band before they find out that it was his dad who ruined the village in the first place. Ooh. Okay, so in a little more detail, the story centres around Barney Connor. He's our lead character, our protagonist, played by Tristram Summers. He is a busker in London, and he's straining to straining. He's not straining. You don't want to strain, do you? Oh, he is struggling to earn a living as a busker, playing his trumpet while that's how you play a trumpet, while he is working on his album, which is going to give him his big break and make everything all right. The trumpet was given to him by his estranged father when he was a kid. That's important because very early on in the film we learn that Barney's dad is dead. He died recently. As I say, Barney and Charlie is his dad's name. They were estranged, so Barney finds out from one of his dad's old bandmates. Barney is invited to the funeral and the will reading. He doesn't want to go, but he does. And after the funeral, his trumpet is confiscated by a bailiff because his dad accrued a lot of gambling debt on the horses, and he signed the trumpet off as collateral. So Barney is told, give us the £10,000, you can have your trumpet back. And that's where we sort of begin our adventure with Barney. Because at the reading of the will, he is told that he's inherited a building in Spain, a little house, from his dad. So he decides, I'll sell this house, get my 10 grand, get my trumpet back, and then just get back to life as usual and be happy, as happy as he was before all of this happened. But life is not that simple, and one thing leads to another. And Barney is left with a plethora, that's a new word, one of my new words that I like to use as much as possible because I'm intelligent, because I'm clever. A plethora of dilemmas. So that's basically the story, without any spoilers. You know, all of the stuff about his dad you find out very early on in the film. I think this is, you could say it is a feel-good film. I want to say it's a family film, but there is some bad language. They do refer to his dad, Barney's dad, as an asshole and a bastard. So it may not be pure family viewing, but other than that, it's innocent. You know, there's no sort of violence. There's no naughty scenes. By that I mean doing sex. It's you know, it's a good film. One thing I will say is that the blurb that I read there, from the IMDb, describes it as a romantic comedy musical. I wouldn't say, well, I mean, I don't think it is. I wouldn't class it as a musical at all. It has music in it, but only in so much as it centres around this guy who plays the trumpet, Barney, and one thing leads to another, and he gets involved in a band. So there's music from that point of view, but there's no random outbursts of big show tunes and songs to move the story forward, like you'd expect from the Greatest Showman or Les Mis, or you know, the like. One thing I must say at this point, the main theme, I don't know what it's called, but it's by Joe Rose, and it's fantastic. It gets in your head, especially, you know, as the film goes on, there is a big ending, no spoilers. It's just brilliant, it really is. As for the characters and the performances, I am reading some of this, I do apologise. Tristan Summers, he plays Barney Connor, and he gives Barney an honest soul. I felt like Barney hated the situation he was in. He clearly doesn't like his dad and doesn't like what his dad stood for or anything like that. But he has now been put in this situation, and he is doing anything he can to get himself out of that situation and just get his life back on track. I also felt there was a genuine sense of unease where Barney could feel himself slowly turning into his dad, in so much as he was putting his own desires ahead of what was best for the people around him. So that was good. Now, Candela Gomez, or Candela Go, it's spelled Candela Gomez. I think it's Candela Gomez. It's Spanish. Let me know in the comments. Perhaps you are Candela Gomez. Let me know how to say your name. Yeah, so Candela Gomez, who plays the fiery Paloma, is way more than just a love interest. She seems to me to be a little bit like, she is to Barney what I would say Jiminy Cricket is to Pinocchio in some respects. She's not really his conscience though. She's more, she holds Barney to account. If he starts becoming too much like his dad, She doesn't know, by the way, who is that. That's an important part of the thing. No one knows that Barney is Charlie's son. So whenever Barney's sort of attitude starts to shadow that of his dad, she sort of pulls him up on it. Jamie, oh, this is another one. There's another one. Jamie Purell, again, Purell. Jamie Purell? Jamie, it's like Scooby-Doo saying puddle. Hello, Purell. Alright, hello, Purell. Jamie Perrault? Oh, is it Perrault? No, that's Jamie Perrault. Anywho, he plays Enrique, and Enrique, he starts out as Barney's guide to the village, but as the film progresses, he quickly becomes the audience's representative within the film. He is us, basically. So his reactions to Barney and Barney's shenanigans are our reactions, and he asks the questions that we would be asking. And then later on, again, he becomes like almost like a sensei sort of character to Barney. There's no martial arts in it. Like he doesn't even play the trumpet, so he's not a trumpet sensei. He just sort of, he's like a wise sayer of sooth. And Ben Freeman plays Gavin, the loud-mouthed expat Londoner, and he plays him brilliantly. I'm watching this film and I hate Gavin. Now that's not because of any bad acting or poor performance or anything like that. It's actually the opposite. It's because he's playing him so well, and he comes across as very loud and brash and arrogant. And in fact, Paloma has a brilliant line earlier on in the film which sums up Gavin brilliantly. I'm going to paraphrase her now, because I don't believe Gavin was that British when he was back home. She delivered it better in the film. There was context and everything. Everything's better with context. Another reason I dislike Gavin was because obviously Barney is the protagonist. He's the hero of the story. So we want him to do well. And Gavin gets in his way a little bit and, sort of upsets Barney's apple cart, if you like. But then annoyingly, when you stop and you look at it, you realise that actually Gavin's right and Barney's in the wrong. And I don't like people like that. Just be wrong. Just be wrong. But yeah, so yeah, we want our hero to do well, but then this guy gets involved and he wasn't a main character, but there was another character called, he was just listed on IMDb as Grumpy Local, and he was played by Mike Hall. Now this character deserves a special shout out, because I think a special recognition, because while he wasn't a main character, I think he was a crucial character. It seems to me like this character was the personification of the village. Not the people in the village, but the village itself. Because when something you need to know is that Charlie, Barney's dad, he basically destroyed the village. He caused a lot of upset with the water supply. Okay, you would imagine if the village had a voice and feelings, it would hate anyone who has anything to do with Charlie Connor. And that means Barney Connor. Now, when Barney first meets Grumpy Local, Grumpy Local is fine. He's walking down the road, and Barney asks him for directions to this house, which happens to be Charlie Connor's house, the one that he left Barney. And when the old Grumpy Local sees the address, he just sort of swipes Barney out the way and grumbles and carries on, which you know obviously you would expect the village to behave like that. And then later on, Barney is putting the band back together, and this Grumpy Local appears from nowhere, and he rebukes Barney for putting up a notice advertising auditions to join the band. He puts the notice up on the church wall, on the outside of the church. Again, you can imagine the village would be saying, hang on a minute, that's my church, what are you doing? That's just how I interpreted it. But then later on, when Barney starts to warm to the village and warming to the idea of, actually this place is okay, when he next sees Grumpy Local, and he greets him with what we learn to be the village customary greeting, he receives it back with a big smile, and everything seems all right again. It's like the village has accepted him. You could argue that Grumpy Local is a manifestation or a personification of Barney's own attitude towards his situation. That's another possibility. Or you could just say he's a Grumpy Local. But I like to look at a little deeper and play with symbolism and stuff. Now there was only one thing about Solo that really bothered me, if I'm being completely honest, and that comes from the fact that my background, basically, I'm passionate about the British Music Hall, and within the British Music Hall there is a song which is very famous. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's My Old Man, and then in brackets, said follow the van. My old man said follow the van and don't dilly-dally on the way. That one. And they sing that song in this film. Unfortunately, they get some of the words wrong. And ordinarily, anyone who doesn't know the song or whatever, they wouldn't even notice it. But for me, if I hear that song or a song like it, I can't help but want to sing along. And when I'm singing along and they sing different words to me, I'm like, that's not right. You got it wrong. You got it wrong. So, I'm sorry, Nick. I'm really... Oh, he's not going to cast me in anything ever again. But yeah, that was the only thing. I think it said... I think the bit that they got wrong... you'll hear it if you know the song. I believe it was the bit in the song where it says, I followed on with my old cocklinnet. I think they said the car followed on with my... And then I couldn't understand what they were saying after that. For the cocklinnet line, so they might have got that wrong. I'm sorry, Nick. I'm sorry. I really like working with you. Other than that, and that's not a huge problem to have. Considering it's like an hour and a half long feature film, I think it's well worth a watch. I really do. If you're interested in knowing more about this film, I did speak to the director, Nic Cornwall, on episodes 1 and episode 2 of Creative Differences Indie House, which you'll see a link to at the end of this video on the end card. You'll see a link to Creative Differences Indie House episode 1, and then after you watch that, it will take you to episode 2. So if you're interested in knowing, in hearing, from Nic about the making of this film and, how they got such a genuinely beautiful location, how they sourced their extras in the middle of nowhere in Spain, how they managed the location. It's incredible. It really is. He talks about it all on there. He also talks about Tristram's trumpet playing. You can learn a lot more about it from watching that. What I would suggest though is, if you are interested in watching the film and if you don't like spoilers, I would very, very strongly suggest that you watch the film first before watching my chat with Nic, because that chat is littered with spoilers for this film. But if you don't mind spoilers and you would like to know more about the film before you watch it, go for it. I'll pop the link on the end card and then you can have a look. There are 2 episodes of Indie House. Right, I think that's basically it. I've been trying to think of a scoring system for my reviews. I'm at the moment, this may change, but the score is going to be out of 11. And I'm going with Happy Daves. So this film I've awarding 7 Happy Daves. In order to get 11, the reason I'm doing it out of 11 is because sometimes 10 isn't enough. This one goes up to 11. Yes, that is a Spinal Tap reference, and yes, I am okay with it. Right, now, if you've enjoyed this review, please do like and subscribe. If you're subscribed to the channel from Indie House, you're already subscribed. But if you haven't subscribed from Indie House, please do subscribe and like this video, and ring that bell to get notifications and all that jazz. And please do share the links around and comment in the comments. I'll try to reply as soon as I can. And if you want something reviewed, if you've made a film or written a book, or do a podcast, or you're an artist and wants your art to be shown to the world, all 11 subscribers, one of whom is me, do get in touch. All the details to get in touch are on the information page. Okie dokie. Thank you very much. Also, if you make comics, I'm happy to review independent comics. Have a good one, and thank you for watching. I'll see you later.